So if knowing what to do actually worked, none of us would be stuck. So why are so many smart, capable people still struggling? I know I've struggled with this and I still struggle with it. I know what I need to do, but I don't do it. And I get stuck in the same patterns. Dr. Joe is back, rapid growth specialist, founder of IFGT coaching, and creator of the subconscious mindset training method. And so Dr. Joe helps people understand why change feels hard. And he's here today to talk about exactly that, how to get unstuck when we know what we need to do. It's great to see you again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Lisa. Always great to spend time with you.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation because so many times it's happened to me where I'll be like sitting there going, I know what I need to do, but I just can't get started. And I don't know how to get started, but if I did it, I would be successful. Do you think that's a natural, normal phenomenon?
Yeah, I think it is. I think and what's behind that is we get so stuck into our comfort zone, into doing the same things over and over and over and stuff, whether we're expecting different results or not. But we try to fit things into that comfort zone to do, and it's really the comfort zone that has us stuck.
Yeah, the comfort zone, but it feels so frustrating. It's like we know what we need to do in order to reach a goal.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurs out there right now are like, yes, this is happening to me right now. And then we can't seem to follow through with it. So is this another subconscious, conscious mind thing?
It is. And the subconscious, I talk about that programming in there, right? And the subconscious, that programming of our patterns, our paradigms, our belief systems, our experiences, even experiences we didn't have, but other people told us about that we bought into, is within that network of that subconscious. And the subconscious is what triggers the brain waves to the actions we take or don't take.
Mm,
So if somebody grows up the way I did, that says, a man's job is to get a job, support a family, and hopefully live long enough to enjoy some retirement, things like spending time with children versus working harder or things like that, get put on the side burner because when we want to do those things and we know there's work, that's why we see so many people sitting out at beautiful resorts and beaches and they got their laptop and they're hammering away or their phone and things like that. Is because the programming says you got to go, you got to go, you got to go,
yeah.
you got to keep going. So trying to take a break from that, and almost every entrepreneur I work with, Lisa, I have to start out by getting them to throttle back a little bit
Mm,
because they're going 100, 150 miles an hour and trying to get to some point of something, get to that carrot out there. And
right.
what I do is
It
help
keeps
them look
getting
at
moved
this.
further and further back.
Yes. And instead, what I do is have them look at the stick, not the carrot. The stick is the programming. The stick is I got to go. I got to keep going. I can't stop. I got to push, push, push. And eventually, someday, I'll get that carrot.
Yeah.
And so by looking at the stick instead of the carrot, now we can bring that back into identifying and shifting that programming causing limitation, which in doing so, we have to expand our comfort zone to things we're not familiar with, the things we're not used to doing. That's the only way to bring about change is to change. We have to change the programming, which then shifts the perceptions of how we see the world, how we see ourselves in the world, and then that changes the experiences we have. A shorter way of saying that is we have to become that entrepreneur internally within our programming before we can ever truly experience that in the outside world.
It's interesting that you say that because things started to shift for me when I started having more balance in my life. And so as an entrepreneur, that was my mindset when I first started is go, 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 go. I'm on my
Mhm.
laptop 24 hours a day, it felt like, and I was getting nowhere. And then I learned that that wasn't going to work for me. And it wasn't by choice. It was because my body literally shut down and said, no, you can't do this anymore. So I was forced to put it down for a while and then developed healthy habits. And by that, I mean other things that weren't related to work, like going to the yoga studio, joining a dance class, doing different things, which made me feel more balanced. And then I was more creative. And then when I sat down to work, I was even more productive.
Yes. There were times I was going on it, especially right after COVID, when everything just dropped out for everyone and stuff. But I I went into this mode of 100, 150 miles an hour because like everything drops so quickly. The anxiety of it caused me to go back into that. And I was going, going, going. And finally, I was talking to somebody and they said, man, you need to get in your truck and go out hang gliding. And, when you talk about yoga and stuff like that, and I do that a little bit, but I like hang gliding. I like motorcycle, I like pickleball, I like, working out, things like that are mine. And so, but anyway, so I did that hesitantly. I did that and packed up my truck and I went out to Chattanooga and I went hang gliding for the week and got some launches off of the mountaintop and things like that. And through that week, I didn't do any work. And
Mm,
I ended up walking away and coming back with 3 new clients from that experience that had
right.
reached out to me out of the blue. They weren't on any list of people I was going to contact or was following up with. And all of them had wanted to. One of them, I think, got more excited about the whole thing when they found out I was out there putting a hang glider together, getting ready to jump off a 2,000-foot mountain. But I mean, and it happens that way. And what happens is when we're going so fast, we can't see the way things are showing up for us, where we don't allow those things to come to fruition in our life because we're blocking them by just going 100, 150 miles an hour.
Right. Yeah. I feel like entrepreneurs are really hard at slowing down, and it's like just like going to the gym, it's a practice. I'll be honest, over the holidays I
Mhm.
took like 20 days off and I felt so out of sorts when I had like a chunk of time to
Right.
myself without the hustle. And because we get so
Mhm.
used to that, and it is hard to take a step back and do nothing. It's like an art. And entrepreneurs are just built differently. I feel like it's like their engine is always running.
It is, and we're programmed that way, right? If you want something, you got to put massive actions, exhaustive efforts. You got to be willing to trade off your life for it. That was early learnings we had, but those aren't true. They weren't true
Yeah.
then, but they're not true today, And most people, most of my clients, it takes them 3 to 5 days. Because I always suggest when they go away, do it for 2 weeks. Because you're going to spend 3 to 5 days just getting comfortable with not go, go, go. And then after that is when you start to enjoy it. So how many days of it did you have where it was before it finally was just released and you could just enjoy what you were doing?
I mean, it came in phases,
Mhm.
if I'm being honest. So it was like, I don't know. I took like a couple days to adjust, maybe two.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it takes a bit for the body to adjust, and then adjusting back to it was another adjustment, right? We
Yeah.
take these breaks, and then our we start panicking because it's like, oh my God, I'm not productive. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing in order to build my
Yes.
business and be successful according to societal standards, right? And so then it's like moving back into that was a challenge for me. Do you struggle with that too?
I do somewhat. I have the way I've worked this program and things like that. But my clients, like if I'm working with somebody and they go on a 2 week vacation over to Cuba or wherever it may be they go to, and when they come back, I have a special couple sessions I hold with them because the purpose is for us to go to vacation, get into that relaxed mode, that creativity, like you talked about, that flowing and all the cool things you got to do over the Christmas holiday and stuff like that, and then bring that back into our life. But even as you said that, then we come back and we're at that place of, okay, now I got to turn on the switch. I got to get going, man. I got to run. I got to catch up. I got to get ahead. And most people will use the Christmas holidays to kind of recharge, to come back at it the same way they left it.
Right.
And they get the same results they had before then. So
Yeah.
what it is we can use those times of, and that's why it's so important to take them, to use that time of those down times, because we start attaching to more creativity. We start becoming more in alignment with what we want in this, and all of that. And then when we come back, bringing those forward rather than pushing those away and jumping back into how it was, all of a sudden now we start achieving more with less effort. All of a sudden we start getting these creative ideas that bring us to the next level and things like that. That's the reason why every year, it's not, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but every year near the end of the year, I'll take and write my dynamic vision for that next year. So I can start putting that on and getting into place of it and start seeing that happening and start living through that being the reality I want to live. And whatever's happening today around me and my situations, circumstances, and conditions, it's just what it looks like as that vision is unfolding.
Right. Yeah, that trust and faith, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like we entrepreneurs, every single entrepreneur I've ever met wants to get to some level. And as I work with them, they can tell me what that would look like living at that level, but they want to beat themselves down to get to that. They're okay. They're willing to trade off beating themselves down to get to that level. And it's like, why not go through something that'll help you get to that level quicker, but have excitement attached to it rather than drudgery and and all of that. Like, why not look at something that's enjoyable while you go through that growth and getting there as you start putting on more of that vision, continuing into it. Like, why would you not want to do that? And the only reason I have found, and this is what I determine whether it's what I do is can help somebody or not, is, are they open-minded? Is somebody so embedded that the only way to be successful is you got to kill yourself and work your tail off and everything else? Because for that person, I can't do anything different unless they're willing to take on a different belief, allow them their beliefs to be challenged.
Yeah. And for many people, most people, change, when people think of change, they think of it's going to be exhausting instead of
Right.
empowering. And I love the
Yeah.
way you flip that. It's like, make change exciting instead of exhausting. Even just now, to test that theory, as you were speaking, I thought of something big in my life and I imagined it changing, and my body instantly kind of went, oh, that's going to be so exhausting.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It doesn't have to be. And we have ways of doing all that. You had talked about like building habits and stuff like that. Part of the process I do is we develop systems of accelerating habits through the SMT method. And those systems and those habits that we set up are unique to the individual. So nobody does what I did to be where I'm at now. Nobody will do what you would do in their habits and stuff like that. They're unique to that individual. And one of the ways we utilize to find that is to identify that system is what really lights you up, what's really exciting to do, you know? And I'll tell you, even some things, I'll tell you for me personally, doing my income tax was never an enjoyable task for me because I have a drawer here at my office, I have a drawer at my other office, I have a console in my truck, and all my receipts go I don't know, maybe not all, because
Me too.
and
Me
then at
too.
the end of the year, beginning of the year, I got to take all this stuff and I got this big pile of receipts and everything, and online stuff I store and stuff, and I got to pull it all together and fill out the document and everything else. And there are times when I had to have my accountant push out my taxes just because I couldn't get myself to do it.
Right.
And then I came up with this idea.
I'm in
You
that
know what I
predicament
love?
right now, my friend.
Was that
I'm in that predicament right now. I'm looking at my
okay?
envelope right now,
Yeah, okay. So you know what I
and
love
everybody
doing
out
this stuff?
there is relating to this. So tell us your
Yeah.
secret.
You know what I love doing? I love once I get this spreadsheet and all the information together and stuff like this, and I hit send on that email. Oh my God, that just lightens me up for the whole rest of the year, then that it's done. It's behind me. It's complete. So now, a couple years ago, I started going through it and I was putting them together and I just kept that in mind. Not so much focused on the hours and hours and hours it was going to take me to put them all together, but I focused on hitting that send button. And all of a
Mm,
sudden, usually there was like a week process because I'd get so far and get frustrated and I'd walk away and I got more important things to do and I'd walk away and all kinds of reasons to walk. I got pickleball later tonight, so I walk, whatever it is. And
yeah.
what I what I
I
what I
suddenly have
found
to
is
clean my bathroom, which I haven't cleaned in 6 months. But
all of a sudden today it's an urgent matter.
today I'm cleaning all my windows. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so within 2 days, partial of 2 days, I had all the receipts organized, put into the system, everything else and stuff like that. And then I ended up putting the whole thing together, hit send a few days after that, and everything was done. And so then I came up with this thing. Well, why don't I do this? Why don't I? Here, I'll show you. Maybe. Oh, maybe they're out there. I have little envelopes, like the ones that are about this size, and I have
Mm,
January through December, and an envelope for each one. And as I'm going at the end of the month, I take my receipts and I put them in that envelope. That's what I did the next year, and then it became even easier because now I could just pull out that month, go through what's gas, hotel, travel, blah blah blah, and put it in there. And now I decide, you know what? Before I put it in there, why don't I just take 5 minutes and separate them: gas, hotel, different areas. And now when I pull it out, they're all situated and everything. All I got to do is plug them into the, Excel, and it's done. And so when we start looking at, there's things I love about what I do. I love this conversation and talking with you. I love podcast speaking. I absolutely love coaching. I don't like the marketing side so much.
Mm.
I just I don't know whether I'm good at it or not or things like that. It's not one of my favorite things to do. I love that direct like we have here and stuff. That's what I love. So some of them I find people to do that stuff, and some of them when I have to do, I just look at what do I want to get out of it, and that becomes my focus point. And then it's much easier going through those things.
Mm.
I do the same
Yeah.
thing with people like salespeople or even business owners, entrepreneurs, when they are their sales force to start out, is I help them with that 10,000 pound phone.
Right.
We start instead of it being a 10,000 pound phone and picking it up like two hands and struggling and all that stuff, is I just set up as a game. And I learned this only by doing it in my own life while I was in sales early on in my corporate career, is go for 10 no's, go for 5 no's a day. And when I started doing that in my life, and what the clients I've worked with have told me is like at first there's a little bit of force there, but it's like, okay, I can get 5 no's.
Nose. Did
And
you
so
say
this
nose?
no's where people go, no,
Saying
I'm
no.
not interested.
Okay.
You know. So what happened though is I started out going for 5 no's, and I'd get like 3 people and they go, no, we don't use those type of parts, or whatever the reason is, we don't use them, stuff like that, and then I had somebody go, oh yeah, we're looking for a supplier right now. And there's part of me inside that went, ah, shoot, like that takes away a no. So you know what I mean? It's like, and it's just a game. That's all it is. It's a phone call. In
Hmm.
other areas where we struggle with so much, there's always a process, a way to go through it to stay into alignment, to stay in your attraction mechanisms, to be lit up about what you're doing. But we don't look for those, and a lot of reason because of that programming. My dad used to say all the time, it's not supposed to be fun. That's why they call it work. And
Mm.
today, my work is fun, Lisa.
Yeah, a lot of people are that way and have that mindset of, oh, I'm at work. It's not supposed to be fun. Fun.
Yeah,
We got fun after work. Why can't we
yeah,
have fun all the time?
we can,
Yeah.
but we have to have an open mind to it. You hear me say that a lot because our mind determines how far we can grow. Our subconscious programming, at 85 to 95%, and there's been studies on it, 85 to 95% of the results we experience are determined by the programming in our subconscious.
Right.
The hard part about that, because it's so normal for us, we
Hmm.
don't even recognize that we're living through that programming and it's playing out.
Is that why everyone keeps breaking promises to themselves? I mean, it's that time of year. My yoga class was packed last night of brand new people who all have these New Year's resolutions that, they're starting up the year strong, but I guarantee you
Mhm.
next week it's not going to be as full because
Yeah.
people can't keep these habits. So, is that why people keep breaking promises to themselves?
Yeah. It's exactly why. It's exactly why I missed my only son's first birthday after having very bad upsets for him to be born, out of 3 pregnancies, he's the only child I have. And I wasn't there for his first birthday because my programming told me that a man gets a job and supports a family. And so I was out in Indiana trying to build a sales territory on his first birthday. And to this day, it still hurts to think about that
Mm.
and to realize what I did. And especially now more at times because now I know I didn't have to live that way. Then I thought I had to. And it felt like the way I was supposed to live. So what we do is we make these promises. We lose weight, start exercising, saving money, whatever it may be. I mean, there's unlimited number of things, and we make the promise, and we really mean it when we make the promise. Smoking, things like that. People who quit smoking or things like that. They really mean it, and they really want to, and they get geared up for it and everything else, and then they step into the new year, and it's hours or days before that programming starts pulling the excitement out of it. It's the same reason why people will spend tens of thousands of dollars going to hear somebody speak on something, and they walk out of there and they are freaking lit up. Their whole life has changed.
Yeah.
But if they don't do something within 72 hours of walking out of there, their life will go back to the way it was because the programming will guide them there. And it continues to guide us there over and over and over. So that's why even somebody listens to this episode and things like that, and I'm going to give somebody, a gift to your audience and stuff later on, but listening to this, if this makes sense, if it brings up questions, anything like that for you, if you don't take action into it, it's not going to, you'll be right back to like you didn't listen to this within 72 hours.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, there is a biological, chemical portion of this too, especially with the quitting smoking and, exercising. There's a biochemical issue as well. But
Yeah.
I truly believe that a strong mindset can push you through that,
Yeah.
and routine and the right person to have by your side and to motivate you. You need support. And it's very rare for someone to have so much self-motivation. I mean, there are
Yes.
people like that. I'm incredibly hard on myself. I quit vaping last year. One of the most
Hmm.
challenging things because it affects your dopamine levels, and I had to
Yes.
make myself feel good without that synthetic poison that I was using. And that was really challenging. And I was able to do that because I have the right habits stacked. But a lot of people can't do that. And so I love that you're helping people kind of get their shit together in order to
Oh yeah.
tackle things like
Yeah.
that.
I like to describe it as I help people get to where they want to get to faster than they can do
Yeah.
without me. That's really, and even that, I'll have people I'll start working with for business growth, and they'll go, yeah, oh yeah. The other thing I want to help with is, can you help me with this? I want to stop being a smoker. And I go, hell yeah, and quit doing that. And they'll go, quit wanting to not be a smoker. I go, no, quit identifying that you're a smoker. You smoke. You're not a smoker. And we identify with those things. We identify with excess eating. We identify with blowing more money than what we have coming in. We identify with that struggle that it has to be in order to build a business and things like that. Just a really quick example. I have a guy who was working full time in sales, and he had a business doing construction, industrial construction, permitting, and things like that, and stuff for the ground and all that and stuff. A business that he was doing a couple grand a month in. And so when we met, he wanted to build that up. He wanted to leave the job and all that. And okay, so we started going through it, and then we started going through the process. And as we did, we started to get some growth. But at some point, he was like, okay, I don't want to grow beyond this. And I go, what do you mean you don't want? Him and I just had this conversation yesterday. I go, what do you mean you don't want to grow beyond this? He goes, man, I got a buddy who owns a, $20 million organization. And every time I talk to him, all he says is he would never do that again. He's got money now, but he's beat to hell. He's not close with his family, like all this stuff and everything else, following the normal process of that. And I go, so what if you could have bigger than that, and it be enjoyable, and it actually bring your family closer together through that process? Would you be open to that? He goes, yeah. And it took us a little while to talk through it and stuff like that. Today, that gentleman, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, close to 2 years later, that gentleman's doing between $55,000 and $60,000 a week in revenue.
Wow.
He's almost bypassed his friend, and he loves his life. In fact, he told me he will never refer me to anybody because I'm his secret weapon.
Your
But
secret.
things like that can happen when we get into that side, and that growth can be fun. It can be exciting as things are opening up, not drudgery. And it takes less effort to grow faster. And I know that
Yeah.
might not make sense to people, but we can grow faster with less effort than we can with that 100, 150 miles an hour pace.
Yeah. So I have another question for you because this is something that I often contemplate. I can be really successful in some areas in life, but then I struggle with other areas,
Hmm.
or I'm super confident in some areas and I'm not confident
Hmm.
in other areas. Why does this happen?
Ooh. It again goes to the programming. So for me, early on,
This episode
when
hashtag programming.
yeah, there you go. Early on, is I didn't have confidence in sales when I got into sales, and I struggled. And until things started happening, until I started understanding the subconscious, so it was like that for years, and the part it plays, and then how, okay, now I understand where I'm, what I called broken back then, but now how do I fix it? And then I started looking, that led to the whole SMT method and everything else. But and then there's areas where, like, finding a good woman to be in a love relationship with.
Mm,
That one lasted longer, and part of that is because my programming was based on not good, healthy relationships, and me not being healthy either. And then the traces and the programming that left behind left me in a place for a long time where I, I didn't trust people.
mhm,
Before then, I would meet somebody and I would automatically have trusted them until they showed me not to. It reverted 100 or shifted 180 degrees where I didn't trust somebody and they had to earn it. And so
mhm.
now I'm meeting people and things like that at that level. And that took time to work through that, to the point of, so it's really dependent on our situation. It's really dependent on that programming, but it's not like one programming covers every area of our life. There'll be parts of it that'll go into other areas. The person with the New Year's resolutions and things like that can't hold it up. This is one of the things that's really important to hear. It was to me, anyways. If you're not where you want to be, it's not your fault, because we don't get to choose that programming. But if you want to be somewhere else, nobody can do that for you. And it's your responsibility to find something to help you traverse that gap.
I love that. I love that because I'll go back to the quitting vaping last year. Before
Mhm.
I quit, like it didn't even do my body any good. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest, I would do it and I get super anxious and I was
Mm.
ashamed of it. I knew it was affecting my lungs and my health. And you know me, I'm super healthy. I do breath work, meditation, yoga, all the things. And I felt like my integrity was being questioned and I was questioning my own integrity. And
Yeah.
but I couldn't quit. And so I was going back to this stupid vape, even though I knew that it was so bad for me. And it was like my body wanted the familiarity of it. And it kept going
Mhm.
back to it because it was familiar, not because it didn't want to take the hard road. You know what I mean? It was so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you said that, because I have a 28-year-old son. He's a really good guy. He just got into corporate. He went started college a little late, so he got in probably about 3 years ago, about 4 years ago now. And I remember him calling me one time and going, "Dad, I don't know if this is the right job." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because, man, I'm just so anxious all the time, and I feel upset in my stomach and this and that." And I go, "Oh, huh. Why? Is something happening at work?" He goes, "No, like they're giving him accolades and this and that and awards, top salesman, top new salesperson and things like that." I go, "So what kind of things you doing?" I go, "Oh, are you drinking coffee?" He goes, "No, I drink energy drinks." I go, "How many?" He goes, "I don't know, 4 or 5 a day."
Oh no.
Really? That's probably
That
leading
might
to
be
the
why you're buzzing.
yeah, that's probably leading to your anxiety, just like you talked about with the with the smoking and stuff, vaping is, we lead to it because, but here's one of the things is, I help people understand this is, we do those things because we're getting something out of it.
Mm. Oh yeah, it
You
gave me an
know,
adrenaline rush and it gave me motivation. It gave me it got me buzzed, it got me moving. I love that rush. That rush of it is what I was addicted to, even though
yes.
after about 2 minutes it would give me some anxiety.
Yeah. And when you look at it, it just feeds the process of the subconscious, right? Because if we're built in our belief, our core belief is that if we want something, we got to work our ass off for it. And we gotta work exhaustively, massive actions, all this stuff, put everything else aside to get it and everything else. And now all of a sudden something like this vape comes along and it helps us hit that place where we feel like we can go even faster. Of course, of course we're gonna want that more often. And the human condition is, if we like something, we want more of it.
Mm.
Not good, bad, or indifferent, just is what it is. So yeah, so you see how all of that feeds right back into that programming, that core beliefs.
And the programming of associating motivation, energy to something. And I've learned over and over again that every day my body's different, situations are different. So I
Mhm.
can build a routine and I can do the same thing every single day. It may work really, really well one day, but it's not going to feel like that every single day. And I had to make peace with that because I was like, I did the same thing yesterday. Why do not I not feel as good today? And it's just normal. Like we're human.
we we kind of our energy, our resources. I know that if I spend a lot of time putting together a new program or something like that, at the end of that, I need a break. One of the things I do, and we're talking about this ahead of time, is when I travel to speak, I always make sure that I have my own room. I don't stay with people or things like that. Because when I get done, I'm tired. I'm I.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. I'm excited and like on top of the world type of thing, but I'm tired at the same time. And it's like afterwards they kind of meet, and I need to have some time I can just pull away and just be. And part of the thing to achieve what we want to achieve, the only way to enjoy it is we have to start spending more time in being than the doing.
I was just going to say, what has to change in order for people to stop repeating the same patterns?
We have to slow down enough to notice them. 100 miles an hour, you're not going to notice those things. When we slow down, and that's, but the program that I've developed, the SMT method, is actually designed to do that because we come out of the gate developing what is referred to as dynamic vision. And in developing that vision, we have to slow down and we have to get into our imagination that we're taught from school children at a young age to shut down. And as we get older, we're supposed to shut more of that imagination down, where that's one of our power tools right there. And then the other one that's a power tool for us is alignment and being led, which is our intuition, which is guiding us to what we want. But when we're going so fast, we don't hear it. And our intuition works perfectly, Lisa, in every single one of us, but it's only as loud as our willingness to hear it. So slowing down opens up more of that. And now think about it. When I'm running 150 miles an hour, all I'm doing is coming from whatever's between my two ears. Is the best strategy I have is what's between my two ears. So, or somebody else, what's between their two ears if I'm following their pathway and things like that. When we start opening up our imagination, that's where that vision really develops from. And then when we take that and we slow down and we get into alignment, we get those systems of accelerating habits and things are starting to flow, things are starting to grow, and we start opening up that intuition more. All of a sudden, we're in a coffee shop and we overhear something that we've been asking for, or pick up a book. This has happened to everybody, really. You pick up a book and it's like something you've been wondering about. Boom, it's right there. And now it's gone a little further than that, where like you can talk to somebody on the phone about wanting a air fryer, and all of a sudden you put on YouTube and everything comes up, every commercial comes up about air fryer. And that's a whole different use of that and stuff that I don't call that intuition. But we can use imagination and intuition as a design to
Yeah.
open up what we want to experience in this lifetime quicker than anything that can come from between two ears.
Yeah, what we focus on is what we're going to get.
Mhm.
I was giggling
Yeah.
because I once looked up something that was kind of strange, and suddenly everything around me was sending me all these weird things. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what did I do to myself?
Yes. Yes.
Um,
So,
so then affirmations and positive thinking, is that what you're speaking
mhm.
of?
No, much, much deeper than that. You know, positive thinking is great because at the same time, the programming, with the SMT methods, we're identifying, shifting the programming, but we also got to get from the source of our conscious mind, the words we use, the thoughts we entertain, the people we hang out with, what we watch on TV. All of that stuff is in our conscious mind. We have control over that. So we have to start shifting that to get into alignment with that vision of what it is we want.
Mm.
So I'll give you an example here. We developed this dynamic vision for the life that we want to live, the finances, the relationships, health and well-being, time, money, freedom, all of it is included within this dynamic vision, okay? And then from that dynamic vision, now we got our conscious mind that's out here and saying, man, I'm a piece of crap, or I can't believe I'm so clumsy, or CNN constant negative news, and we soak in all the drama of all that stuff and everything else. Well, that's what's flowing to the subconscious and what we're going to experience. And it doesn't have to take years for that to happen.
Mm.
We can have thoughts of things like that. And people who That's why we see lottery winners. People win millions and millions of dollars on these lottery. They haven't done anything with the inside with the conscious mind in their focus, but they also haven't done anything in the subconscious with the programming. And we'll see those people within a couple years be broke, divorced, rehab, jail, all kind of drugs, all kinds of stuff. And it's because they never became that person internally to match that. So one of my things I tell people is if you ever win the lottery, man, get somebody to put that money aside. Don't even touch it or anything. Call me up. Let's work together for a year. And then you'll be in alignment with the person who has that kind of money. So you're going to live life fuller than you ever could have any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Use it
You
for
know,
healthy habits instead of, oh my God, I have all this money. Now let's party and blow it.
and
And
that's what happens.
yeah, it
Because
absolutely does.
internally they're still living in that part of it. And ultimately, what I do at the end of the day, Lisa, is I help people bring out of them, because it's within them, bring out of them that person that has that successful business, that is that successful entrepreneur, that's having the impact they want to have in life, that's having and all. They become that person internally, and then we start showing up on the outside. So going back to what finished going back to what I was saying. So we have a dynamic vision. So what I do is help people develop that dynamic vision. And then we align the conscious mind to that vision. And the whole time we're working at aligning the subconscious mind to that vision. So now we have a dynamic vision that we're looking at as the reality of our life instead of the situations and circumstances that pop up. And we have where our conscious mind is feeding into, our subconscious mind is reprogrammed thinking into it, and those results will show up so quickly. And it doesn't have to be effort getting to them either. It can be excitement. It can be more opening, more. I mean, think about this. If you have a dynamic vision and all of a sudden you're doing these things and all of a sudden you're seeing part of it opening up and you have somebody supporting you through it, like how incredible is that? And I
Yeah.
know because it's happened to me and every client I've served and stuff, but it's so cool to experience that and get to be a part of that in people's lives.
I guess my question then to you is this, as the subconscious mind is changing, like how does somebody know that they're making progress? Like what does that feel like? What does real subconscious change feel like when it starts happening?
We start seeing a difference in our results that are more aligned to what we want, the vision, and less aligned to what we're doing with all the mismatch and all the confusion and the chaos and repeating the same limiting results that we're experiencing. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, what you were saying before, I guess there's value in the term fake it till you make it. When I first learned how to become what I saw in myself, I remember going to events or these high level meetings. And before I go in, I'm like, I belong here. I'm part of this group, even though I was like brand new into it. And I would walk in and people would come up to me and they thought I was in charge. And it was because of the way that I was holding myself, the way that I was acting. And I was like, whoa, it was like, it felt like something magical was happening. I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, are you talking to me? Kind of thing. And it felt so good. But it was like I
Yes.
embodied the vision I had for myself and people saw it because they saw that I believed it. It's the confidence,
Yeah.
it's the embodiment, it's the
Yes.
energy.
It's owning it. And it's really not faking it. It's owning it, and that's what's on there. That's how you can tell things are changing. I remember the first time I went up on stage where there was more than 100 people. I think there was like 650 people there or something, and they said, okay,
Oh my God.
when we started introducing it, go by the stage, the stairs and stuff like that, and we'll and when we get done introducing you, we'll give you a little, like come on and then come on up. And I was standing there, Lisa, and I looked at how many, and it seemed like there were billions of people.
Yeah, your
And,
heart was probably just like,
that's exactly what started happening. My heart started beating. And I looked around and I knew the closest door to run to.
yeah.
And I was considering it like, inside and stuff like that. And so they started introducing me. She kind of went like this with the finger and, like gave me the, like, come on up. And I remember like going like, almost like I was side-eyed, but I know I had to turn to look at the door and stuff and that final debate thing. And then I took a step up and my heartbeat got even fuller and stronger. And I could feel like even my pecs, like, pump and blood. And then I got to the next step, and it got even stronger. And I'm like, part of me wanted to just turn and just casually
Your
walk out.
legs start shaking.
Yeah, and then I stepped up and my foot hit the stage. And the moment my foot touched the stage, all of it was gone.
Wow.
And I walked up, I ended up speaking the first time, like I said, in that size audience, and ended up getting like 3 standing ovations and stuff like that. And it was easy. And what I learned from that is when I go into situations like that now, I just remind myself this situation is going to call for me to be confident.
Hmm.
And then I go into it, and exactly as you beautifully demonstrate, that confidence is there. It's already within us. We just have to tap into that as we go forward. And so when I'm helping somebody go from, $750 million to $22 million and things like that in their business or whatever it may be, the smoking, the health and well-being, whatever area of life it is I help them access that part of themselves and bring it out by clearing the pathway of the conscious stuff that's blocking it, the subconscious stuff that's blocking it, and align the whole thing with a vision.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So for people out there listening who are thinking, all right, this is me, this explains a lot. So now what? What are the next steps?
Well, I have a gift for your audience. One of the things I would tell them to do, if anybody wants to do anything on their own, the very first place I tell them to start out is take a piece of paper and a pen and find a quiet place. I love going to the river, but I'll sit here in my front room with the fireplace on, things like that, and grab a pen and write out, get clarity on what you really want. Not I want a $5 million business or $25 million business or $100 billion business. Not just that, but why? What does that afford you to experience in this lifetime without it won't? What does it allow you to your impact to be with that without it you wouldn't? And start getting into that clarity. How do you live? How do you wake up in the morning? How do you go to bed at night? How do you spend your day? Like, and really get that clarity going. Because most people I meet, when I ask them, what do you want? And they go, I just want to get to the end of the month. I want to get to the end of the year. You know,
I want to go to bed. I want to get to the end of the day so I can go back to bed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so getting that clarity is the first part, because what it does is it starts spinning the wheel. And as we spin that wheel, now every client I work with, once we get to that point of they developed, I help them grow that even bigger than what they could imagine. Because if it's not a stretch, it's not worth going after. So with that, it'll at least start helping you get some clarity on what you want and what that life looks like, which means your mind will automatically start putting some focus on that. The reason I tell people to write it is so many times we get in our head, oh yeah, I want my business to be $7 million and this and that and stuff, and then a month later, I want my business to be $8.5 million. I want my business to be six. And if things aren't going great, all of a sudden that 8 million goes to 7 or 5 or below it. And what happens is, living the way with the programming the way it is we live on minuscule scraps of what's really available to us. And we
Right.
call that okay. So that's the first area I would start, is getting that clarity. If you go through and you do the clarity on that, that means you're taking some action into it. Finishing that, putting it aside, 72 hours later, it's like you didn't even write that vision down. Writing it is committing to it. So it's no longer in your mind. It's actually on a piece of paper that you can go back to every day, multiple times, whatever works for you, and review that and just let your imagination open up around seeing that happening, seeing yourself living that life. If you get that far, the next thing I say to do is I'm going to offer to your audience a free call where anybody can reach out to me at coachwithjoey.com and schedule a 15, 20-minute call with me, and we can get that going. And if you've taken that step of writing that vision, then I'll help you bring even clarity to it. I'll make sure it's powerful, as powerful as it can be, and get you some action steps you can. And when we get off the call, you can start moving more forward to that. And because it's New Year's and because I'm excited about this, I just finished publishing a book called Breaking the Subconscious Pattern, Keeping Your Business Small. You can tell I just did it because this is the author copy of it. But I'll give you a free copy of this book during that call. And it has tools in there to help you start, implementing this stuff at an accelerated rate in your life.
Amazing. What a powerful conversation. What a great conversation to start the new year. Thank you so much for being here. Do you have any last minute thoughts?
No, I'm really grateful I get to spend time talking to you about this, Lisa. Obviously, it charges me up to do so, when we do and stuff. And I watched my parents. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, struggling. She would dictate court reporting at night when we went to bed and still be up when we got for break. And I watched the toll that took on them as individuals, their bodies, their relationship, and they were really, really good people. I don't want anybody, and they didn't have these tools back then. So I don't want anybody to ever have to repeat what I saw my parents go through in their life. And that's what drives me into doing what I do and why I'm so excited to do it.
Yeah, it's that being limitless being is that we're all way more
Mm.
capable than we could ever imagine. We're all way more powerful. And once you step into that power, oh, I'm just taking a deep breath right now thinking about it. It's so relieving. So many years I spent feeling like I wasn't worthy, you know,
Yeah.
when we start acting the way that when we start embodying what we want in our lives, it feels strange and it feels weird and we get imposter syndrome. But then when it starts to feel real, there's nothing like that feeling.
Tell you, when I'm working with people, I love this because I have before we even start the program, I have a intro call, a get ready call, I call it. And it's really to get into alignment. It's not a hype site thing that, something like that, but it's really to get into alignment with it. And I give my clients two tools to start practicing that. And they'll come into the first week when we get into the program already experiencing change in their life because of those tools. So yeah,
Amazing.
getting
Well, what a
results
powerful
quickly and
conversation.
building it. Absolutely, Lisa. Yeah, so much fun and enjoyable in depth talking with you.
Yes. All I'll say to the audience is be limitless.
Mm,
Take care, everyone, and start your new year off right. We'll make sure to have the links in the show notes for you to access Dr. Joe so you too can be limitless. Until next time, take care,
yeah.
everybody.